Me either.
You might want to redo that. We are live.
AJ, what up, boy? Ryan Tillman, let him have it. Savage on the set. Oh no, it's the Bobo. Ryan Tillman.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I am joined by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr.
Oh no, it's the Popo.
What's happening, dog?
I'm good. Was that loud, Billy? Was I screaming in your ear?
Over there eating
Oh no,
those-
you're good. You're good.
Over there
I'm
eating those
excited.
butter burgers.
I'm
You know, those-
excited. Don't be telling everybody. I just put it out there. I was being fat all weekend. I just left Culver's, got a butter burger and a blizzard. So your boy is feeling right now. We
We
got a
over
super
here
special
running-
guest in the studio.
We got, we said you can see we over here being dads today. We got little Jakey in the building. This is Billy's little one right here. What's up,
Say
Jakey?
hi, Jakey.
That's my nephew right there.
He's a little shy.
He's
guys.
like, nah, I'm good.
Is that a screen that I see in his hand, Billy?
Oh, but for real.
Tell mom.
I'm calling Bianca right now.
She's probably watching it now. I took it. I was like, don't worry, it's just a last resort.
It
As soon as he gets in the car,
first thing
here
he
you go.
resorted to.
You got
It
it.
was the first thing he
You
resorted
want some
to.
Cheetos too? Here you go, some Cheetos.
Out with the
Bruh.
setup. He helped with the setup. It's a Father's Day.
In
podcast.
light of Father's, well, let me introduce our next guest, and then we'll talk about some Father's Day fun. We also have a special guest with us today, Chris Sanders. What is going on, brother? How you doing, bro?
Man, feeling blessed. Thank you guys for having me. Happy Father's Day to you guys.
Oh man, appreciate it. Same to you,
Yeah,
man. Same to
appreciate
you. Let me ask you guys. So we're all fathers on this podcast today. It is Father's Day, so we are putting in that work. In your home, who's the one that holds it down? Who's the one that's
Me.
more strict, and who's the one that's less strict?
Me.
AJ, we'll start with you. You
Yeah,
more
I hold-
strict?
yeah. There's zero rules with mom is in
Really?
control. A zero. Yeah, she
I
be
would
letting me
not
do
have
that.
guessed that.
Yeah, if she's super soft with
neither
him,
would I.
she
So
could
even
probably
if-
hear me right now. She gonna come up here and cuss me out in a minute.
So like with food or screen time, candy, like you're the more strict one.
I don't think we really got to that point yet. As far as like screen time and whatnot. Well, I guess yeah. I'm the one that like lay it down. Like even today, he was like running around with a spoon, like hitting stuff, like a big wooden spoon, and I had to like snatch it from him. Like, give me this spoon, man. Like, what you doing? Yeah, pow, right in the forehead. Yeah, that's me.
Chris, how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
Who's more strict, you or your wife?
Definitely me. My wife has more of like a laid back upbringing. My mom was like Pootie Tang with the belt. So
See, exactly. And that's exactly. Like, and I don't. Yeah, never mind.
Okay, well, when it comes to like screens, food, and stuff like that, still the strict one or no?
no, we limit screen time. Like my daughter, she's super active, which is fun. So we do more outdoor stuff and limit screen time. And we try not to do like if we want her to be quiet, we give her a screen. We don't do any of that stuff. We kind of just let her listen to music, or we'll get outside and get active.
Feels like
There you go.
I did exactly opposite of that right now.
He over there agreeing too, like, yeah, ain't no screen time in this house
Yes.
either.
Meanwhile, Jakey's in the back with his feet kicking and
Yes,
stuff like
like
that.
Got a PS5.
Well, actually, I mean, we actually don't do a lot, but right now I figured this is a good time to do.
No,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Billy, what about you? I know we kind of talked
Um,
about it. Who's strict? More strict? You or your wife?
My wife is more strict with the kids because I feel like I'm gone all day. So when I come back, I don't want to argue about it with him over a cookie. So I'm like, here's a cookie. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Take the
But
cookie, bro, you got it.
yeah, here you go. Yeah, that's how our house is right now.
Oh man. Salute to you from Portugal.
Nice.
I think in my house, it's actually fun. I think my wife is more strict. Like now, when it comes to like corporal punishment, me all day.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like my wife and stuff, I think my wife is more strict, which is kind of weird because in my household growing up, my dad would like put it down. Like he did not hold back. So it's kind of funny because you would think that I would take after that, but I'm just like kind of more. But my personality is like super laid back, easy going. My wife be getting mad sometimes, like, "Are you gonna do something about it?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me go ahead and do something." Hey, stop, get off of that.
Put
Oh, yeah, that's
put the
right.
lighter down. Stop catching the house on fire.
Oh, bro, here's the funniest thing though. My wife's gonna kill me. But anyways, yesterday, so I usually, like I said, when it comes to corporal punishment, I'm usually the spanker. I'm usually the one that's putting it down. But yesterday, my middle child was acting up, and so Kimberly got like hot, so she like popped him right in front of me, and I was like, "Ooh,
You know you in trouble now.
bro!" My son got so mad at me 'cause I'm like making fun of him. I'm like, "Ooh," I was like, "You got it." When Mama put hands on you, you got it. So he started he started crying more and stuff like that. I was like, hey man, that's your bad.
Yeah,
So anyways, man, I
he was
just
probably
funny,
caught off
man,
guard. Hey, I gotta hear
Oh, he-
everybody's funniest dad story while we on the subject. Like I think everybody here has like a funny dad story where they're like, oh,
Well, since
okay.
you brought it up, you lead off because that sounds like you got a funny dad story. So let's hear yours.
Well, I can't. I was hoping y'all was gonna go so I could like give me
How
time to think
How you
about
gonna
it.
throw something at us and then not even have nothing? Like,
As soon as
like,
I said
like
it, Billy
our
was
dad,
looking
like our
around
dad's
like,
story personally, or like our own dad's dad, like a dad, like as us as fathers. You mean?
yeah, us as fathers, yeah. I heard it. I'll tell you the one that pops in my head. It's not me. I'm not gonna say who told me this story because it'll get back to their spouse. But I was talking to my buddy, and him and his wife are always getting into it about like who's the more responsible one. And they're both like really responsible people, but like I don't know why this is like a competition in their household. And they argue about like who's the most responsible. So they had just gotten into this argument. And my buddy was like, that's it. I'm taking the kids. We're gonna go get ice cream. I'm getting out the house. I gotta get away from you. So he gets the kids, he puts them in the car seat, and he pulls out and he stops at a red light and he hears his son like screaming, like, Daddy, Daddy. And he looks back and he forgot to lock the car seat in. So his son, he's like upside down in the car seat, just screaming for his dad. So he told me, he's like, I couldn't let my wife know that happened. As soon as we got done with this argument, my son upside down in the car seat.
Bro, that's hilarious. So I actually do have a funny story. This was like a couple weeks ago. Mike, it was their bedtime. It was like 8:30 or something like that, or 8 o'clock. And so my wife had went upstairs. And I think she had fell asleep, but like she was waiting on me to bring the kids upstairs and like put them to sleep. So I'm just downstairs with all of our kids, like we just chilling, watching some like random show on YouTube, like about animals, or we all like locked in, right? So meanwhile, they supposed to be asleep, but we all just chilling. I got my kid, like the two littles, like sitting right next to me. My oldest is like sitting in the front. We just kicking it. So then like you hear like some stomping around upstairs, like movement upstairs. Like, so I know my wife must have woke up because she never came back downstairs. So my oldest just looks at me and I look at him because he already knew what was about to happen. He was like, oh, Dad. I was like, hey, my bad. So sure enough, my wife came downstairs like, hey, how come y'all not asleep yet? How come y'all not asleep yet?
Y'all all should have played sleep. Every single one of y'all should just went.
Oh, exactly.
Bro, that was so funny though, because we just looked at each other. And he knew, I knew. I was like, oh yeah, Mom about to be kind of hot right
We both about to
now.
get
And then this morning, you know, I wake up, I walk into the bathroom, my oldest is in there. And he was like, yo, what's up? He was like, happy birthday, or he was like, happy Father's Day. My man gives me like the handshake. My wife is like,
said, yo, what's up?
yeah, he was like, yo, happy Father's Day, Pops, or something like,
Hey,
yo,
bro.
happy day.
Hey.
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
it
big
was
dog.
just like that. Yeah, it was just
He's
like
all
that.
bet, Dad.
Is cereal in the pantry?
It was literally just like that. Like he was like, I walk in the bathroom, my wife is sitting there. He's like, yo, what's up, my man? Happy Father's Day. And me and Kimberly looked at each other like, who is this guy? He's 8 years old.
Matured overnight.
Bro, like,
Then he got in the
what's
car,
up?
drove and got some McDonald's and came back, ate his Happy Meals.
Oh, anyways, man. So, any of y'all got some funny Father's Day stories before we hop into the whatever topic we about to talk about today?
I think mine would be when Jacob was younger, trying to bathe like a toddler, and you're trying to lift him up and like wipe, everything. He slipped out of my arms like face first into the bath.
Oh, betrayal.
Obviously, starts screaming. Mom turns around like, he slipped.
You trying to quiet him down?
Yeah.
You trying to quiet him down?
I don't know. You got your hand over his mouth.
Yeah, he was standing. I told him not to, and he slipped. So,
Bro, you
He
trying to
wasn't
quiet
listening.
him down? Like, your mom about to come here.
yeah.
Don't get me in
Man. What
trouble.
about you, Chris?
My funniest time is probably taking my son to Universal, and he's 6 months now. And I had the whole father son, matching outfits with the bucket hats.
Yeah.
And I'm
Nice.
holding him. And he's like, man, he's cuddling, sleeping on me. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, man, I feel too warm. You know that time when you feel too warm? He had a blowout diaper. It was pee and poop, and it was like all over my stomach. And,
Bro, I've had that
You got
happen.
burn the shirt. You got burn the shirt.
you got to throw it away. You
Yeah,
can't
you
keep
Did
it.
you
Bruh.
have to buy a Universal shirt? I'm guessing.
Nah, Chris, he
$80 later.
He toughed it out and just walked
A
around.
couple nights
Dad
napkin
life, son.
walks.
Hey, hashtag
Yeah.
dad life, son.
Right with the
Nah,
with the poop stains down the shirt.
Oh man.
I
You
tell
guys
you
ever
what
had-
though,
Go ahead.
that's something that caught me off guard about being a dad is like you almost overnight, like as soon as like your kid is born, you overnight just don't care about any of that. Like bodily fluids, smells, and you
you
get poop on your finger, you just be like, oh, all right, let me just wipe this off real quick and get back to
He's never like,
it.
Right.
Ugh. All right, back to cheeseburger.
man, have you guys ever had your kids dime you out? Like, so this like today actually I'm making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and my wife was like, you don't even know how like she likes it. I'm like, no, like it's easy. You put peanut butter and jelly on the bread and you got a sandwich.
Nothing's ever
Peanut
that
butter
easy.
jelly with
No,
a baseball
like, no, like, she's like, no, you know, like Rylan likes it. Like it needs to go to the edge. Huh, buddy?
Okay.
You hear that cute voice? It's just cute voice.
It is.
So it's
adorable.
like, you know, like, it's like, you know, you got to put the peanut butter and jelly, you got to lay it over like on the whole bread, and you got to cover it with jelly. I'm like, babe, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It can't be that hard, right? She was like, no, she likes it a certain way. So anyways, I'm like, I got this, chill out. So anyways, I make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Why
Famous
did my
last
daughter
words.
Yeah, bro. Why did my daughter, like, she gets it, she was like, Daddy, I don't like it like this. I'm like, so you just going, and I knew my wife, she didn't say nothing, bless her heart, but I knew
She
my
didn't
wife
have
was
to.
sitting there like, I told you so. So anyway,
She's like,
like I'm just the
I
worst
told
dad
you.
ever. But anyways, guys, let's
oh
get
no,
into
it's
it.
the
So
Popo. You're my very first favorite creative person when I got on TikTok. I appreciate that.
hey, Melinda, we're here too. It's cool, but
Yeah, that boy.
hopefully. But hey, guys, so what I want to do is I want to get into today's topic. It's actually pretty cool. So I met Chris probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. Chris is a really, really solid guy. Recently joined the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I say recently, but like a half, 2 years ago. But this is a guy that is going places. He is he will probably be the chief for sheriff one day. Just in my short time I spent with him. And so I thought it would be cool to kind of really just have, like, I don't know if we've ever had a young officer on our podcast before. We have a lot of people that have been on or have been listening to us and stuff like that. So I was like, you know, let's bring Chris on. I would love to hear, love the audience to hear from you, and just kind of get to know you, and actually kind of hope, you know, that you can give some inspiration to them. So Chris, I mean, what's up, man? How long you been following us, man? Were you listening to the podcast before you met me, or did you just start listening to the podcast after you met me? Like, tell us who you are, what you do, man, why you here.
Yep, man, appreciate the kind words. I think I definitely owe you a check in the mail. All the kind words. I've been following you guys for over.
Yeah, I'll hold you to that, bro. I'm one person that will hold you to that, my brother.
We don't play about money, dog. We don't play about
Right.
money.
I'm sending the invoice right now.
Yeah, thank you, Billy.
We'll
Like
see
playing with
you
my
in
emotions.
court, brother.
I've been
Y'all heard it
too. Following you guys for over 2 years now.
Who'd you follow
actually
first?
Close to over between 2 and 3 years. You know, you guys were my inspiration leading up to my academy experience. You guys don't know that, but I was doing my runs around the house, around the community, listening to you guys and your podcast.
Dope.
You know, my same passion, or my passion is the same as you know, Ryan's when it comes to bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community. And that's the reason why I joined. I joined to help bridge that gap. So for me, a little background on me: come from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I know AJ's gonna be mad with Go Blue. The only thing good to come from Ohio is LeBron James. That's about it.
I don't even know.
But
I don't even know if we can
podcast this
consider
is
him
gonna
good
be.
anymore, man. He came to LA and just messed us all up, but whatever. I'm not salty about it.
I come from Michigan, born and raised. Had a challenging childhood, but my testimony. So love every moment of it. Looking back, you know, so coming from Grand Rapids, Michigan, now out in California, loving it. I wanted to do something rather than just talk about it. You know, everything going on in the world. A lot of people, you know, sit on the couch and do that Monday morning quarterbacking in regards to what people should be doing in law enforcement and how it looks and what they would do differently. I don't want to talk about it. I'd rather just be about it. So that's just what attracted me to law enforcement. I've been very blessed in my journey. I feel like God has been guiding my footsteps, and I'm happy in Orange County. Got a great opportunity to interact with the community. I've also been able to go back to my hometown and do stuff in my very own community. But law enforcement is a thing where I think a lot of people have a misconception of it. I think it's a field that people should actually get a chance to experience, whether that's through, you know, joining a local PD in regards to their community involvement, or just actually putting on the badge. You know, it's a lot of stuff that takes place in law enforcement. A lot of people don't know.
That's phenomenal. Let's back up real quick. So you said you were listening to us for like the last 2 to 3 years. How did you hear about the podcast and stuff like that, and what kind of drew you to it? And then you mentioned that this podcast kind of gave you some drive while you're going through the academy. So walk us through that, because I think there's importance to that. I think I was talking to AJ the other day, and he was telling me that he was out and about, and somebody actually had a similar story saying that they've been listening to us for a while, listening to the podcast. And so I want to hear, about how you found the podcast, and then what was it that kept driving you back to it while you were going through the academy?
It definitely. My buddy Jay Britton, I'm actually wearing his shirt today, Only the Hungry t-shirt, just to give him a shout out, because he actually told me about you guys. Because I was asking, like, hey, is there more officers out there in the world who have a diverse background, who actually want to see both sides of the spectrum? Because some people, as you guys already know, working in the field, some people are just like, yo, I'm pro everything law enforcement, even if it's something like negative, like, yo, we still got to rock with it, we still got to support it. And finding you guys was an inspiration for me. Especially when you have people that kind of look like you, and it's you get a different vibe when you have those different experiences. I come from the hood, or the ghetto, however you want to see it, whether it's the poverty or whether it's the crime. Where I grew up at, had both. And there's not a lot of people in law enforcement who have my background, or even like similar to Ryan's and AJ's. Like, I didn't, it wasn't cool to be in law enforcement where I come from. I had people locked up, people selling drugs, doing drugs. I had buddies, teammates who got murdered, guys who were incarcerated. So where I come from, it wasn't cool to be in law enforcement. So coming to your guys' podcast, hearing your guys' stories, how you guys got connected, it inspired me to say, you know what, there's more people out there who have, a rough background, but also want to make a positive difference going forward.
So you said you've been on 2 years?
Yes, sir. About 2 years now. Yep.
So you got on in 2020.
Yep.
So there was a lot going on in the field in 2020. Was there any hesitation, second thoughts, or was that like more like the driving factor? Like, okay, I really need to be in this profession now.
It's a driving factor. I think I told Ryan when we first connected was, one of my nephews was beat by a law enforcement officer. So it's like, with everything going on in the world, I feel like what MLK said, the true measurement of a man is not where he stands in time of comfort, but where he stands in time of controversy. So I never wavered. I just prayed about it, and God kept the doors just open. So I feel like this is where God wants me to be at.
It's so refreshing to hear you say that, because something that like I've heard a lot, 2020 last year and this year is the profession is not the same. You'd have to be crazy to be a police officer now, and just a lot of negativity around our profession. And my response is always that, like, man, like, now is the time. Like, now is really the time that you get in there, and like it's your opportunity to show the world that we're not who they say we are. We don't do these things that people say that we do, in the numbers that they pretend that we do them. So it's refreshing to hear you say that, man. And I applaud you. I really do.
Thanks, sir.
Yep. Yeah. And one of the things too that's impressive about Chris. So Chris is very humble. Notice you guys didn't hear me say, I didn't lead with the fact that he's got his doctorate, or he's in the process of getting his doctorate.
Let's go.
But that's big. That is big, man. That's no easy foot. So here, pretty soon here, he's going to be Dr. Sanders, or Dr. Deputy Sanders. But that's phenomenal. And it's so cool to hear the younger generation. And I say younger, meaning like he's newer in law enforcement, but just have aspirations to go out there and change law enforcement. So we sat down at lunch a few weeks ago. And what really, really impressed me with Chris was the fact that he's not waiting to, put all this time in as a deputy to start making change. He's doing it right now. And that's a very, very controversial thing, because when you come in early on as an officer, as a deputy, trying to make change for the better of your community, sadly, it's met with a lot of resistance. And so have you been met with any of that resistance, Chris, since you've been trying to change? Because you're pretty vocal about it, obviously. And we've had conversations. You share with me that, some of your higher ups have acknowledged you in a public forum, which, I mean, AJ knows about this, but sometimes when your higher ups acknowledge you in a public setting, it almost makes your peers look at you like, why are they acknowledging him? So tell me, have you faced any of that criticism? If you have, how have you gotten through it?
I think criticism just comes with the territory. But I'm very blessed to be in the position that I am. I feel like my department is a great place for individuals who want to make a change. And, from the individuals who I've interacted with above me, have been very open and positive about, hey, yeah, let's do more stuff in the community. Or we actually, what you have in mind, we're actually doing this, but let's get you connected to it so you can help out with it as well. And no matter what you do in life, you can be doing something super good, helping out a lot of people, but no matter what, somebody's going to find something negative to say about it. But
Always.
you can't focus on that. So I don't focus on that. I just understand that, everybody's come from a different place. I just know the reason why I'm here is to help bridge that gap. So, people might see me on social media from my department, whether it's, hanging out with kids who are going through, tough trials in their life. People may look at that and say, you know what, like, why is he doing that? When it's like, I can relate to those kids, and so that the criticism doesn't change my thought process to helping out. If anything, it kind of ignites it. Like, we should have more people doing it. So it definitely is more positive.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. Like keep doing what you're doing. Like, before you know it, you'll be in a position where you're looking back and those kids that you're pouring into now are graduating high school and graduating college. And I'm speaking from experience. I just left, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, a high school graduation where two young men, when I met them, they were in middle school selling like watered down lemonade for like $5. And I pulled up. It was one of like the first videos I did. I probably had like 2 months on the department. I pulled up and I started recording them. And I'm like, how much is the lemonade? They're like $5. I'm like, $5? You get something watered down lemonade for $5? And of course, I cashed them out afterwards. But I just stayed in their life, through the grace of God, and they're like family, and they almost immediately became family. That Christmas, I actually stopped by their house off duty with a bunch of toys like Xbox controllers, Xbox games. I was off duty, showed up to both their homes because they're next door neighbors. And from that like day on, it was just like, I'd be over there for barbecues, and, dancing in the backyard on and off duty. They come kick it with me. They're the same ones I took to Cedar Point years ago because they made honor roll. And now they graduated together. And I just remember sitting there, and I'm off duty at the graduation. I'm sitting there in, t-shirt, jeans with my boy Jones that I work with every single day. He's in t-shirt, jeans, and we're surrounded by both of their families. And the mom is crying as they're walking across the stage, and she like looks back at me and she gives me a big hug. And it just made me realize, like, all the adversity and like all the negativity, all the naysayers, like all of the opposition I face doing what I do and doing what you're doing, Chris. It's worth it. It is 100% worth it. So always remember that story. Like when you go out here and you want to push the envelope, because there's things that Ryan hasn't done. There's things that I haven't done in this profession that we haven't even thought of, that young officers and newer officers like yourself are going to think of. Don't be afraid, man. Like jump in with both feet, because it's gonna pay off. Trust me when I say this, like, it will pay off.
So let me ask you this, Chris. Have you what was it? Damn, I lost track of what I was about to say. Anyways, damn, what
you have a cereal with milk?
I totally lose track of what I was about to say.
Wait, sorry, man. I gotta share this story real quick.
Oh, please.
So
maybe I remember what I was gonna say.
So I was in Chicago with Officer Daniels. We flew out there for a community event / 21 Pineapples, which is like a clothing brand that a young man with Down syndrome owns. And we're checking into our hotel. And the dude, the receptionist, he was cool, right? Like, we like sitting there smoking, joking with him. He gives us his keys. We got him laughing. He's got us laughing. We go up to our room and we like use the key and open it up. And there's people in the room, like it's occupied, like a TV on, like somebody sitting on the bed. And I'm like, oh, snap. The key worked, bro. Like, that's the thing. Like, what's that?
Oh, it's always been a worry of mine, but it's never happened.
It happened, right? So, and the key worked. Beep, green light, open up, dude, just sitting on the couch, like looking at me. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
What if he was like butt naked, bro? Just like
it could have been so much worse. So much worse. So I'm like, bro, we gotta go back down and tell what was his name? Jamal. We gotta go back down and tell Jamal. So we go back downstairs, and now it's like a whole line of people, right?
Why gotta be Jamal, man?
It was Jamal. It was Jamal. So it's like 7 people in line now. I'm like, man, I don't want to say something embarrassing, but at the same time, like, this dude is probably gonna come down in his drawers here at any minute. Like, I gotta give my guy Jamal a heads up. So I walk over and he's talking to somebody trying to check in. I was like, hey, Jamal. And he's like, hey, yeah, what's up, AJ? Like, real loud and animated. And I was like, hey, hey, come here real quick. Like, come to the other side of the counter. He's like, I got you, bro. Like, what's up? He's like, still trying to type. And I'm like, you gave us the wrong room. Like, is somebody in there? And he was like, I'll tell you what. Y'all like breakfast? we die laughing. Like, do we like breakfast, bro? What are you asking me right now?
Like bacon and eggs?
Hey, so that was the running joke the entire weekend. Like, something would happen to be like, hey, real quick, you like breakfast?
Hey, y'all like bacon and eggs?
You ever had orange juice in the morning? I don't know about you, but it starts my day right.
Oh man, he's gonna give y'all some free breakfast.
Yeah,
but
so
that,
he gave
but
us
that did
breakfast.
remind me. What my question was for you, Chris, is so. Did you ever face any Billy over here? He's panicking every time. Did you ever face any criticism from your family members when you decided to go into law enforcement? Because I know that's a very hard thing, especially when you come from an environment where not everybody is pro law enforcement. Did you ever face any criticism? And I think it was your aunt that I met, right? So I know your aunt. She was not the biggest fan of you being in law enforcement, but she's proud of everything you do. So did you face any type of criticism or pushback from your family?
Ryan, that's a great question. I got that question a lot of times in the academy. Actually, I had zero opposition to me going to law enforcement. And I tell people this, like my family and my friends, they know who I am. They know what I'm about. So all they do is support. I've been doing mentoring and community events, since I got a chance to, first get a chance to get on the scene and do it. So my family and friends, they know what I'm about, and they know I'm about, making positive change and not about, trying to do anything that I shouldn't be doing. So a lot of support from the family.
So speaking about making that positive change, tell us about your doctorate. So obviously when you're going through your doctorate program, you have to write a dissertation and everything like that. I think I found it really interesting kind of what you're doing your doctorate on. And, so go ahead and share with the audience kind of what that project is looking like.
Yes, sir. So I'm doing my dissertation on evidence-based policing. So helping out the community and different law enforcement departments be able to understand, their actions and how their actions are making changes. So with evidence-based policing, we kind of pinpoint, areas that are high on crime and also try to figure out what things help decrease the crime rates in those areas. So I want to do some solid research that can actually make a difference and help our communities be safer and help people feel like they can go out in their community and enjoy themselves without, being in a situation that they don't want to be in.
Well, you know why that's so impressive is because, you've only been on for almost 2 years now. And, there's a lot of people in our profession that will gripe and moan about different things or why we can't have this, why we can't have that. But you're actually, not only are you doing your day job, but you're going through a doctorate program and you're doing something that is, beneficial to law enforcement. And so as opposed to just sitting here on the sideline saying, bickering about everything and complaining, you're actually going out there doing the research and trying to figure out how we can better the community. I think that's one of the things that's impressed me so much with you, Chris, is that you're not just sitting on the sidelines, sitting on your hands saying, what was this? What was me? You're actually getting involved in doing things. And you're a testament to realize that you don't have to be, 5, 10, 15 years on to do it. You can do it, the moment you start. So, what would you tell somebody that is on the fence about getting involved in this profession right now? What are some encouraging words that you would give to them to continue to push forward into going into this job?
And before I answer that, I want to make sure it's very clear. You guys have impressed me. You guys have, put it on me to, do things I'm doing, by watching you guys and seeing that adversity you guys going through. I remember hearing stories like AJ's, where people at his place was, people were treating him differently because he was in the community saying you can't dance, you shouldn't be a dancing, officer. But what you guys have done has inspired me. So make sure you guys know that. For me, in regards to people that are on the fence in regards to joining law enforcement, and like I recruit everywhere I go. People always ask me, "Are you a part of the recruiting team?" I'm like, "Yeah, something like that," because I feel like we're all a part of the recruiting team. For sure. We're all giving a message. But I always tell people, like, if you see something that is taking place and you think that it's wrong or you think it can be done a different way, you have the ability to step in and be that change. And one thing our sheriff always says is he never seen the spectator score the game-winning touchdown. You can't do anything from the stands. You got to get on the field. You got to strap on your helmet. You got to put on the pads. And we need more people who have a heart for people. you know, and not saying that we don't have a lot of people who have a heart for people, because we do have a lot of people who have that heart, but we need more. You can never have enough of those people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I tell people on the fence, like, hey, be the change you want to see. I know it sounds cliche, but it's that simple.
Man, I gotta say it's so refreshing, man. Like I was talking to Ryan. Was that yesterday we was on the phone or what?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. I was talking to Ryan yesterday on the phone, and I was telling him that I had the privilege of speaking with one of my coworkers, like somebody that works for the same department that I do, or that I work for, and he was telling me that his classmate, they used to listen to this podcast every like Wednesday on their way to the academy, and it just like really motivated them to push through and like finish our academy, because we have a pretty difficult academy. It's like very military, and people drop out like flies, and they don't even care, right? But what he said after that is what really kind of blew me away. And he's like, don't say anything, but he goes, he credits you for him being a police officer in general. Like, you're the reason that he wanted to go into law enforcement, to make that change. And like I said, they've been on maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, maybe tops. And they're already planning like a big community event next week. So I was telling them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna try to make sure the chief is there, the assistant chiefs. He's like, man, you gonna do that? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I told him like, it's just so refreshing to hear you talk about what you're doing without being reserved about it, and without having like any qualms, or like without hesitating, or being embarrassed about what you're doing. Because for the longest time, like, you almost had to hide that, like, oh yeah, I go in the community, but then when I get back around the fellows, I gotta be this big tough officer that's like beating on my chest or showing everybody I'm not a punk. And it's just so cool to like to see like yourself and the officer that I talked to, the officers that I talked to last week, just so go and own it. You guys just own it so much, man. I love it. And it really like puts a smile on my face, because like the future of law enforcement is bright. The future of law enforcement is extremely bright.
Thank you, AJ. And I feel like one of the biggest things for me is Joshua 1:9, which is strength, courage, don't be timid, don't be discouraged, for God's with every step you take.
That's it.
That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean you're never have opposition.
Yep.
But knowing that, hey, like no matter what, I'm good. Like, I already know I'm good, and that's the feeling behind it. Why not try to make the change? What's the worst that can happen? It's like asking a girl for her phone number. What's the worst that can happen? When you're
right.
young,
you ain't gonna know unless you shoot your shot.
No, what are you gonna say? No.
Right.
Well, now you
You said what, Billy?
Nowadays you can get sexual harassment charges.
That's right. I'll go to jail now.
So I want to hit on that real quick. So one of the classes that I travel and teach is this recruiting and retention course. And you would think when I show up there, I'm going to show up with a whole book of just different recruiting techniques. Now, don't get me wrong, there's certain recruiting things that I'll give them some tips and tricks and stuff like that. But what I realized is that I start the class with this whole presentation of rediscovering your why. And the reason I do that is because, I realized that about when George Floyd happened, there was a lot of people that lost that fire to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. And when you lose the fire, I'm like, I don't care what I tell you. I don't care what trick I give you, what tip I give you. If you don't have the passion to be a police officer, if you're ashamed of what you do, if the fire has gone out in you, you can't recruit anybody. It's just so, you might as well get that out of your mind now, just because how are you going to go out there and recruit people if this is not what you even want to do? Mm-hmm. So I start with that part of the presentation, but then I turn and then I go into the actual recruiting and retention side of it. And in that portion of the class, I actually say what you just said, Chris, is that, or what AJ just says is, you can't be ashamed of what you do. And I find far too often, and sad, and I get it, there's a lot of media and all this other stuff. It seems like it's against you, but you become ashamed of what you do. You become ashamed of wearing that badge. You become ashamed of, going out there and serving your community. But that's something you should be proud of. And right. It's one of the things I instill in all the people that attend the classes, because I'm like, if you are ashamed of what you do, how do you expect to recruit those into this profession? Because that feeling of being ashamed is going to resonate through your spirit. And so you got to be proud of what you do. And I always remind them, I said, think about it. One of the number one shows on TV, they're always cop shows. They're always related to police work. Yep. Anytime you take somebody to jail, how many times have you guys taken somebody to jail in the backseat of the car? They're like, man, if I didn't get caught up with this, man, I was going to be a police officer one day. Like, how many times does that happen to you? I mean, how many times you talk to kids or whatever, it's like, oh man, I want to be a police officer. So I always remind them, like, this is still a very noble and honorable profession. don't let what the media and everybody else outside of here has to say, don't let that stray you away. So when you're proud, and I really love what you said, Chris, is that you have embodied what it is to be a police officer. Therefore, you tell everybody it's their responsibility to go out there and recruit people. You said you're always trying to recruit people. So when I tell people what is the ultimate tip, what is the ultimate trick to recruit people into the profession, it's got to be that everybody at this department embodies this idea that it's our job to go out and recruit. Every single time, every single day I go into the public, it's my job to say, hey, you know what? If you want to be a part of the change, you can do it. Here's an application. If you want to go out there and provide solutions for your community, here's an application. We're hiring. Or there's, if you get people on that same wavelength that Chris is on, that AJ's on, and Billy, all of us, Billy's always out making recruiting videos, doing phenomenal work, trying to get next people in this profession. If everybody embodies that principle, like it's all of our responsibility to recruit, then you'll start to see a lot of these recruiting problems dissipate because everybody's owned it. But the reason we can't get there is because everybody is become ashamed of what they do. They're not proud. They wouldn't recommend this job to their kids, and they're looking for their way out as opposed to looking at bettering the profession. So I really love and appreciate what both of you guys had to say, man, because that's something that also resonates with me.
Chris, you like with the name of the podcast today, The Next Generation, your attitude coming into the profession and what you're trying to do, the people that came in with you, I guess the quote unquote like newer officers, if that's what we want to say, do you see that attitude among a lot of the people who have maybe been in 1 or 2 years?
That's a great question.
Are you finding your peers like in the same boat as you?
That's a great question.
That's a great question, sir. I would say that there's a lot of people who I came in with who definitely want to give back. But similar to what Ryan said earlier, I think some people have this kind of hesitation of like, man, I only got so much time on, so I can't do too much. I shouldn't be doing too much. I think it's kind of like a gift and a curse, I feel like, because I told Ryan, one of my family friends is Floyd Mayweather. So I've been able to interact with him a lot. So when I see somebody like in leadership, I don't really have that feeling like, oh, that's so-and-so, I can't go talk to him. It's kind of weird. I have this feeling like, oh, that's so-and-so. Let me go introduce myself. Let me talk to him, and I think that's a little bit different. But I do have a lot of people in my academy class who have a passion for giving back. And I try to make sure whenever I do an event, I try to invite those individuals to come out. But there's a lot of people who have different reasons for joining law enforcement. Maybe a family member, maybe they want to kick down doors, maybe they want to do certain things. But for me, my heart is, the community.
Hey, how my man just casually going to drop like, yeah, I'll be kicking it with Floyd Mayweather every Wednesday.
Yeah, he did that though.
You're hitting the gym, you know what I'm saying?
You see how he did that? Hey, when me and Floyd get together, it's your Floyd.
I don't know if you ever heard of Money Mayweather, the money team. That's me. So
That's called May.
Yeah, we talking about May.
Oh, that's
cool.
That's good. That's a good question, Billy, because I always wonder too, what is this next generation? Why are they getting in? Like what, a lot of us know why the older generation got it because this profession was different. Yeah. But there's new reason as to why the new generation is getting in. So I think, if you're a recruiter out there listening to this and you're wondering, what can we do to get the next generation of police officers into the profession? Ask the guys that are coming through right now. Because every single one of them just recently made a decision. Not only did they make a decision, but they made a decision to get into the profession when it's probably been at one of the lowest points in a long time. So those are the people you want to talk to, and whatever they're telling you, that's the stuff you need to be out there selling, as opposed to going back to these old school tricks that we've been using for years that aren't working anymore. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as happy as I am, as excited as I am, like these newer officers coming in, I do have like some hesitation that there's gonna be a point where, let me think of how to say this. I know of a newer officer who like got in the field for like the exact same reasons, right? Like he wants to help the community. He's doing like great work, but it's like he's so focused on that, like he sometimes forgets he's the police. And it's like, as much as I love going out and like doing this and pouring into the communities and dancing, you got to be the police too. Like you have to be the police, and you can't really pick when you want to be the police. And I think that is, when I first started picking up on this behavior, I had to pull Brody aside and be like, hey man, like, you can't pick and choose like when you want to be the police and when you don't want to be the police. Like it's one thing to go out and like I have amazing relationships with known killers, like drug dealers, gangbangers, like very violent, dangerous people. I have really, really, really good working relationships with these people because of the years and years and years of work that I put into that individual, the family, the neighborhood, and whatnot. But they know when it's time for me to be the police, like I'm good, I'm getting activated. And like if I gotta take you to jail, I'm gonna take you to jail. If I gotta like tackle you, slam you, whatever, like that's gonna happen. Then when I turn the switch off, I go back to being this guy. But I'm just really hoping that as like the newer generation comes in, because I feel like you almost have to have a passion for the community joining 2020 and after. Like you almost have to have like some passion, like, man, I want to make a change, or like I want to pour into the community and bring all this positive change to the profession. Because all the rest of that, it's like I want to kick in doors and chase people and carry a gun. It's not the time for that now. So I think that's really like distracting a lot of people. So with that said, I just hope that these newer recruits and officers are able and willing to be the police at the same time. And have you seen, Chris, like any like hesitation or issues with that, like with your peers, like officers who have come after you?
You know what? I'll say that's a great point. I would say I'll talk more about my experience with that, and it's there is a difference between I want to help the community and I want to do all these positive things, and knowing like, hey, at some point in time you also got to be the law enforcement,
right?
And do the policing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important to make sure people understand that and they're able to do both, because going forward you can't just be out here just laying down a hammer. You can't be out here just with the community
right.
Roses and the flowers.
Yeah.
But it takes an individual to know like you're not best friends, you're not buddy. When it comes down to somebody who is breaking the law, you have to be able to enforce the law. That's a good point. I think you talk about your experience, and for me growing up in the hood, like I can tell the people that are like, this person up to no good, they go try to get over on somebody, versus somebody who really just doing something because they don't understand that they shouldn't be doing it. From our peers, from the peer standpoint, I think we have a lot of people who understand the law and they can enforce the law, but also have a passion for helping out the community. I haven't really had too many people that come across where it's like, man, I feel like that person will get one pushed over on them because they won't know any better. And I feel like everybody's pretty much understanding the difference between like, hey, this is a good time for me to be, spirit of the law versus letter of the law.
Right.
And I think what happens, you need to have balance. A lot of people miss the balance. You either have people that are too heavy-handed, or you have people that are too, everything is roses, and they lack that balance. But one of the things I've always found is that, doing that community outreach, being that community ambassador, it helps me be the popo when I have to be the popo. Because when I actually, there were times where, like AJ said, I got to be the popo. I got to either arrest somebody. I got to be a little bit more heavier handed with somebody. When I do that, I found out that I even got that much more respect, because people knew, it's like, man, like you made it. This is like one of the hardest people to get under his skin. And if he's upset, that means that you messed something up. That means that you doing something wrong. And it even helps you in court. And so, that's why I would say, if you do it the right way, it will actually help you enforce the law that much more, because, you will go out there, people will know who you are. I think, in law enforcement, sometimes we got to this habit to where you think that it's a bad thing that people know who you are in our industry. And I understand it for certain reasons, because people, they could want to do some bad things to you. But if you do it the right way, you will go out, your reputation will precede you. And when you try to be kind, courteous, and fair, and respectful, when they don't cooperate with you and you got to be the popo, everybody's going to come to your defense as opposed to their defense. Even with all the negative narrative going on, they recognize AJ, or they recognize Officer Deputy Sanders or whatever, because of all the work you invest in it. So if you do this right, you should be able to be the popo, but at the same time, be that community ambassador when you need to, without fear of repercussion or people fearing you too soft. I used to always tell people, like, look, don't take my kindness for a weakness. I'll be kind all day long. And one of the ways I always got away with this, because I was always respectful. So even when I was the popo, I still found a way to do it respectfully. Mm-hmm. Now, there have been times I've had to put paws on people and things like that. But if you do it the right way, if you're sowing into your community every single day, if you're investing into them, they'll pour back into you. And when you do have to make that difficult decision or go hands-on with somebody, everybody's going to be looking at what they did and messed up, as opposed to looking at your actions, because they know what your character was. It's like, it's like me and AJ talked about the other day, is like the content of your character. Dr. Martin Dr. Martin Luther King talked about it, is what is the content of a man's character? That's what should precede you anytime you go out there and do any type of enforcement. Go ahead, AJ.
I used to tell people all the time, hey, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Yep.
Like, I can show you better than I can tell you. Trust and believe. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've used force by myself in like crowded areas in the inner city, in the hood, and the whole neighborhood is like, man, dang, bro, why you make Johnson do that, man? Why you make Johnson do that? It's like, because they know. And Ryan, you said it earlier, like when Kimberly swatted at one of the little ones, you were like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got the wife mad enough to hit you? You must have did something bad. It's the same exact principle. Like when you pour into the community, you're that person who's firm but fair at the same time. When you have to do those things, the community's gonna know. Like, hey, well, they couldn't have even seen anything, and they'll still be like, man, look, I know AJ, I know his character. If he did that, that dude probably deserved it, or that person probably deserved it. I don't know what happened, but I know AJ, he just ain't gonna be out here doing anything crazy. So you're absolutely right, and it makes our job like safer, easier. That whole list goes on and on and on as well. I get more information from people than some of the best CIs in the city. People call me up like, hey, man, don't say nothing, but that double shooting the other day,
I know who did it.
That was Tony, man. That was Tony, but don't say nothing. I'm like, oh, I appreciate you. Dead serious, man. Like literally all the at least monthly, my phone is blowing up. If an unknown number calls my phone back to back, I already know what it is.
So I want to transition real quick before we get off of here. I want to hear from each one of you guys. What is one little message or encouragement, inspiration, whatever it is, for the fathers out there? Fatherhood is like, it is
bourbon.
Important.
No, let me.
I know, right? Bourbon, gin and juice, whatever. But fatherhood is one of those things, man. And living in 2020, it almost seems like, the generations try to curse men for being men, for being strong men. Then we put men in this box where we can't have feelings, we can't be sensitive, and so we've almost, in a sense, men have lost their identity. So I want to know what it is what's one thing that you can give, some wisdom you can give to our fathers out there listening, because I'm telling you, I honestly believe this, that if we can fix the man problem in our world, we can fix a lot of the problems in our world.
I agree.
What's lacking in our country is not necessarily issues related to whatever specific topic we're going to talk about. At the root of the issue, it's a man problem. It's a man issue. And so I'll start with AJ, and then we'll go to Billy, we'll go to Chris, and then I'll wrap it up. So AJ, what do you think, bro?
So when my son was born, I was talking to one of my really good friends, like one of my buddies who was actually in my wedding. And he told me something, but before I tell you what he told me, I just want to share this to kind of set up for it. Those of you who know my story know that I grew up without a dad, right? And when the little part of my life that he was there, he wasn't really present. Like his physical presence was there, but he wasn't really present, abusive, you name it, right? Like all the bad things. And I turned out okay, right? Like I feel like I'm doing a lot of good things, and I am a good person. I have a good foundation that I stand on, but I can't help but think how much further I would be if I had a father pouring into me when I was younger. So I want you all to think about that, because being a dad is hard. Like being a father is difficult. Like it's very trying at times. Sometimes it seems like it may not be as rewarding. It's you'd be tired, just getting off of work, and they're energetic. Like so kind of keep that in mind. But what my buddy told me was, he said, hey, never forget this. He goes, your ceiling will be the roof on which your children, or your ceiling will be the floor on which your children stand. And that just resonated with me so much. And I literally remember every day. So like when I go out here and I work and I'm tired and I get off and my kids want to play, or, there's opportunities for me to advance. Like I always remember, like, okay, like my highest point will be like where my son stands. And that will be where he starts his journey. So just remember that. And I feel like it'll help you get through those difficult times. But hey, we all know this too. It's the most rewarding position to hold as well.
Absolutely. What do you got, Chris?
I'll say be present and do one more. Similar to AJ, my dad wasn't in my life either. So being present is huge for me, and then try to do one more. So for me, that's at nighttime, read my daughter one more book. What's one more book? She's up for an extra 3 minutes. change one more diaper. It's one more diaper my wife doesn't have to change. So try to do one more and be present.
My wife paid you to say
it.
that, didn't she? She Venmo you some money about that diaper thing.
What about you, Billy?
One of my friends in college a while back told me one time, like his dad was more of a friend than a dad. So like his dad would smoke with them, like drink with them, and like at the time we're like, oh, that's pretty cool, right? He's like, no, like yeah, but looking back, I wish I had more of a dad than a friend, and that I always stuck with me. So I want to, like, the balance we were talking about between community and law enforcement, I want that with my sons too. Like, I can be friendly and fun, but I'm your dad, and I want you to leave the house a capable man who's good at being a man. How to treat your mother, how to treat women, able to provide and do things for yourself, think outside the box. So that's what I want to do. I want to be intentional about doing things with them that teaches them things about life.
That's great.
That's
great.
good.
I think I would wrap it up with just say, like, hey, look, when your child gets bullied, you have the ability to build them up. When your child doesn't feel loved, you have the ability to love them. When your child lacks motivation, you have the ability to motivate them. When your child is lonely, you have the ability to bring them your presence. I think all the time about kids that don't have that, and think about that. I mean, think about kids that feel bullied and don't have that parent in the house to make them feel loved. Think about the kids that are lonely and they don't have that parent in the house to make them feel like they are comforted. And so if you're here, if you're a parent listening to this right now, especially the fathers, if you are a father listening to this right now, you can control what happens today in your home. You know what I mean? And don't let that day pass you by. Me and my wife just had a discussion about this. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier, I think in our comments, but life is about perspective. We can sit around all the time and look at everybody's position or where they're at or what they have or what I don't have. But what we lose track of oftentimes is the fact that, you know what, I'm healthy, or I have my wife, I have my 3 kids. And what we lose perspective of, we lose track on, is enjoying the present for what it is. I was thinking about, as me and my wife are having this conversation about things that we want or things that other people have, because, we all do it. We all have aspirations to be here or be there. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, there's going to come a point in my life, there's going to come a point in my wife's life, and it's a sad reality, that we're going to look back to that very moment when I was in the kitchen with my wife and my kids were out running around, playing around, doing whatever, and we're talking about what we want. We want all this. There's going to be a moment in our life where we wish we could go back to that very moment. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a moment where either I'm sick or she's sick or the kids are sick, and we're going to think about memories. And there's going to be a moment that we're going to say, man, I would get anything to go back to that very moment where I was in the kitchen and they were just running around, playing around. So kind of like Chris said, man, we got to be present. It was just this time last year, both of my dads were here, and then this time this year, both of my dads are gone, and so if you lose track of that time, spending time with them, being present in their life, you're going to wish you had it back. And so don't make those mistakes today when you can control it. So that's what I would say. I think fatherhood is so important. If you look at the statistics of how many kids are growing up in a fatherless home, the statistics of, you compare it to depression, anxiety, all these other things. If you come to the root of the issue, it's because they don't have a father in the house. And so I really, truly, I want to send a special shout out to all the dads out there. And I don't want to be that guy that does it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I do want to give a shout out to the moms, because there are a lot of moms out there that are doing the father's role. And it sucks. It's hard to be mom and dad. And AJ and Chris probably know way more about that than I do. But I do know it's hard. And there's moms that are standing in the gap because there is no dad in the home. So I want to give a shout out to you guys. I know today is about fathers specifically, but I don't want to negate you guys, because what you guys are doing also matters as well. So with that being said, we see Billy in the background being dad. Little Jakey, wave to the camera, buddy. Jakey, he's like, no, he's like,
nah, dog. Put me down, bro. Put me down,
I know
bro.
we just got your daddy on camera, so I get it. I get it. But anyways, guys, we appreciate Chris, man. I want to just personally thank you, man. You give me and AJ that fuel that we need to continuing to inspire the next generation of officers. Literally, it's so funny. Me and AJ, like he said earlier, we just had a conversation yesterday, and he's telling me about the story about how somebody listened to the podcast and did that. And every time we tell each other those stories, it's like, bro, we got to keep going. Like, we got, not to say that we're thinking about stopping. So I don't want y'all to get it twisted. Like, I don't want y'all to think that, oh, they're thinking about dropping the pod. No, we're not thinking about that. But when we hear stories, when we hear stuff like Chris and the other people that listen to the podcast and are inspired, it motivates us that much more to keep going and keep striving and doing more. So, I mean, am I right on that, AJ?
Oh, yeah, that's how our conversation ended. Like, we talked about it, and then we both agreed, like, yeah, we got to keep it pushing, bro. Like big time. Chris, you got like social media we could like follow you at or anything?
You know, it's right now just LinkedIn right now.
Okay.
Sanders on LinkedIn.
Only doctors use LinkedIn. He's like, nah,
LinkedIn is that's some professional.
I ain't on your level,
there.
you know what I'm saying? Shoot, but you know, Dr. Sanders, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, business inquiries only.
Definitely an honor and a privilege to be with you guys, Billy, AJ, Ryan. Thank you guys for your time and energy, and thank you guys for helping inspiring me and continuing to inspire me. I appreciate it.
No doubt, no doubt. So, hey, we've been having a lot of guests on lately. We had Chris on. We've had a couple other people. We're going to be having another guest. We'll probably have another one next week. My buddy Shay, and then we'll also have probably another guest named Damian West. So we're going to keep popping them your way. Billy's giving me the music. That must be
time to wrap it up.
Like it was wrapping up. Was that a miss?
No, we're good. Now we're about to transition to the second half of this podcast.
Oh, okay.
All right, y'all. Well, with that being said, y'all, we love y'all. We appreciate you guys. Happy Father's Day, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Ryan Tillman, let him have it. Savage on the set. AJ, what up, boy? Ryan Tillman.